Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of March 26th, 2012. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the site to all you old members, you old fogies out there. The Ask Videomail, don't forget, is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one. But I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send me your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions. I promise I read them all, and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question. You can even send me your Maya file. I love to open up Maya files and work with them on camera. It's a great way for me to see your workflow and see how you're struggling in your shots, and I think it helps out a lot more. So if you haven't taken advantage of this, it's the best way to get the most value for your subscription. So please send your question in today. Today, don't wait, not tomorrow, today. It doesn't matter if you're not even watching it on the 26th. Today is always today, so do it again today. Okay, so a little bit of news. We're coming to the end of the the Kickstarter page for my funding of my animation, The Little Painter. This will probably be, again, I don't know why I'm addressing the audience right now as if they're watching it so far ahead in the future. But if you're watching this next year, then remember that Kickstarter project I had? It was a lot of fun, wasn't it? The Kickstarter project is going to be finished funding next week on Wednesday. And that means that we're going to have a great time. I'm going to do a webcast from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Pacific time on Wednesday the 5th. That is the last day. That's the last 2 hours of funding. Hopefully it's funded by then, and it's just a party and a celebration, a lot of dancing and a good time. Otherwise, we're going to be scrambling, begging for some more pledges on camera. I don't think it'll come to that. We're pretty close. So check that out. So this will be the second to last video mail before the Kickstarter project is over. So you won't have to put up with any more pledges, any more begging me begging on camera, any more of that. So God, aren't you ready for it to be over? You probably have noticed, I hope you've noticed, because it's right on the front page, the download links for the 24-hour animation marathon 24-hour replay. Those videos are online right now for download. I think we've unlocked 14 out of the 16. Part 15 is where I put it all together. Part 16 is just the recap video, but you really want to check that out and download those right away. Because it's 24 hours of animation training. Basically, I go through an entire shot, start to finish. I start with a sound file and video reference. I even do the thumbnails in front of you. I do all the everything from blocking to all the way through polish on that. And I even render the shot. It's not the final render. It's not the final look either. I don't want anyone getting the impression that that's what the film's going to look like. It's nothing like the look. But I just wanted to show everybody what the scene looked like rendered. So that's on the homepage right now. I'm staring at it right now, and you can download those. So grab them if you dare. The 24 hours. If each lecture is over an hour when I do them here at KennyRoy.com. But if we're assuming like an hour per lecture, that would be 2 years of lectures. So it's a pretty good deal for free. So tell everyone about that. All right. Enough plugging my Kickstarter. I know you guys are supporting me. I really appreciate all the support. It's just been great. It's been fantastic. The support has been very heartwarming and encouraging, and I'm just so excited to get started on the film. So let's get to the Ask Me More question. I really like it this week. Let's check it out. Okay, very good question. I'm really glad that this was asked. This is an interesting part of animation, basically where you have a character that is not bipedal, and thus really the pose isn't as important really as getting the character like actually working and looking good, like body mechanics and physics and everything, like from A to B. I remember there was a talk given by James Brown, who is an animator at Tippett, on his work on Twilight, New Moon, and he animated the awesome shot between the werewolves where they're fighting and one kicks the other one off and then they back up and scramble and careen together like over like this boat, I think, that's like leaned up. It's awesome. It's just this really, really dope shot. And he showed his different versions of the shot, and really it's remarkable how much you can get away with just showing basically the movement of the bodies of the wolves, and just the bodies. And really the legs fill in later. Now what we want to make sure is that we don't make choices in the body when we're blocking quadruped animation that are not going to be supported by the kind of quadruped it is. Like an elephant walks very differently than a tiger does. Okay? A lizard walks very differently than a cat. Okay? So, and like some of those differences are like a lizard, the opposite legs, like the back left and the front right, like move together, and then the other opposites move together. So it's very, very, very important to watch reference. And again, I can't plug it enough because it is just an outstanding program. It is extremely challenging, and it is the best out there for what it is. Is the Animals and Creatures course at Animation Mentor. If you think you have what it takes, or if you're just a good animator and you want to dive into creatures, then send Animation Mentor your demo reel in your application, and if you get in, then consider yourself lucky, because it is an extremely challenging course that will 100% prepare you for creature animation in VFX. So, but what I wanted to kind of like turn this into workflow is that you can't make choices that are not going to be supported by your legs, but at the same time, really all that is important is the body, all right? So the way I would block an animation is I would take the master controller. Here I have Nico. He's the free rig available on creativecrash.com, Nico, okay? And I would literally, just using stepped keys, animate him going up these, it's supposed to be rocks, but they're just boxes. Going up these rocks here and getting into position. All right, so the path I wanted him to take was basically he has to anticipate down, leaps up onto this one, okay, turns, takes one step, and then anticipates a little bit, leaps up onto this one, okay, and then takes 2 steps this way and then 2 steps this way, okay. So that's the path that I want for my character, okay. And so what I did was I just selected his master controller, and using stepped keys, you can see the keys here, okay. Using stepped keys, I created this very, very, very rough version of the animation. Okay, so he anticipates down and leaps up and lands, turns to his right, takes 1 step, anticipates down and leaps up to here, lands, there's a hold, then he takes a step this way and then a step to the right, okay? Should be 2 steps. I did say 2 steps, didn't I? Okay, well that doesn't ruin the animation, all right? And so then, this was all on 4s, okay? And some of it is still on 4s. But then what I did is I just spaced it out between frame 24 and 33, or I guess this used to be 24 and 28. But I slid this key that was on 28 to 33 to just be a little bit of a moving hold right here. And then another little moving hold after he lands on top right here. So this is actually very, very, very roughly timed as well. So he jumps up, and then starts walking off. Jumps up, walks off. Okay? Jumps up, turns, jumps up, walks off. Okay. Now, so this is the blocking that is just on the character's master controller. Now the way Nico works, he's a little bit different than every other rig. Every rig is different. So what we would then do is because the body is the most important, we would then create the keys in the body that are going to basically shape the rest of this, the poses that need to happen. So let me just delete this key, okay? And sometimes what I do, here's a little bit of a workflow trick. You see how when I select all these controllers in his spine, they have no keys on them, okay? This controller though, the master controller has all these keys. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just grab the controllers that I'm working with now, and it's kind of like a manual way of adding them to a C set, okay? So I just added the master controller to the selection, and I'm just going to hit S and then period, S period, S period, and I'm just going to go through the entire animation. And basically, although yes, it added keys back at 0 for all of these controllers, which could be a little bit of a pain in the butt, now at least I know exactly what frames they need to be on in order to be included in the full body posing that I'm doing. So on this frame, I'm going to have him, you know, basically beginning to anticipate upwards, and then this one is going to be back down, right? Building this little bit of a spine here, and then this is going to be very, very bent over. This little spine shaper, and I can ignore, like visually, I can ignore the legs. I have no problem just ignoring the legs, you know, in my mind. If you find it distracting, there's no reason that you can't, for instance, add a texture to Nico that hides the legs. I don't think you can hide them just using the controls that we have here. Might be able to scale them. No, see, there's no scale controls. The scale on the master, but... And then another thing you could do is you could just build basically a tin can version, which is not too hard. Maybe I'll do a quick demo next week, a video mail of how to create a tin can version of your favorite rig so that you can turn off different things. So basically, here we go. He's just leaping up. And again, everything's going back to 0. In some ways, though, it's actually kind of cool because if it's back to 0 on every single frame, I know that I'm not going to get gimbal when I turn it into spline, right? So this one should be basically leading the action as he turns over here. This is probably not forward enough either. As he's turning this way. Oops, put key on the wrong thing here. Now you want to do, another tip is you always want to do your Y rotations on this master controller. You never want to, I'm building basic, this is basically building pose. This still qualifies as pose, the fact that I'm basically bringing this over here, you know. I'm not doing so much with it that it's actually qualifies as the turn that I'm working on, okay? So always want to do your turns in Y with this, okay? That's what I found. Okay. See, it's going back to 0 every single time, but that's okay. That's okay, because we get the peace of mind that nothing is gimbal locked. I keep on missing the keyframe that I'm actually looking for. I did it again. Oops, I did it a third time. I'm a numbnut. Okay, so there we go. So that would be the very, very, very basic blocking pass on the spine here. It's a little too exaggerated right here, but you know what? I would probably keep it the way it looks in this section right here in this middle section right here, only because I know that basically by definition, it's going to be smoothed out and polished down and buffed down into something a lot less exaggerated than this, this crazy amount of bend that's in the spine right here. I would probably just keep it. If you're the kind of animator that right now you need things to look a lot more like they're going to when you're blocking it, that's fine. And that doesn't mean that you're doomed to be a bad animator. That's totally fine to sort stuff out a little bit earlier. But me, it doesn't really matter. I would move on with the blocking looking like this. Okay. So then the very last thing we do is we start taking a look at where the feet going to fall. So let's do the same thing with these controls as I did with the spine. So I basically just kind of like added them, to the party. So now they have all the keys on them. So he anticipates, and then we'll bring these up. And the spine probably needs to come up a little bit just because these back feet are twisting so much. We've run out of the range that the heel raise is actually working. So I know that this is going to be a little bit of a tough moment on these feet, only because the way that they are coming off the ground right now is going to take a lot of finessing to make it look like a correct quadruped. Trying to see if I can rotate this so it's not so distracting. Here we go. Okay. And then this does become annoying. So what I normally do is I just middle mouse drag and set a key on the next one. So these are supposed to be planted on the ground right here, and he's a little too high. Although we could make it so that he overshoots it and then lands. Using the period and comma keys a lot to get my controllers to start behaving. I don't know what this does. Oh, it's a knee pull vector. That's kind of cool. These need to come up a lot. Okay, and now see what you see is it's a little bit of a back and forth. We see that okay, he leaps up. Okay, yeah, this is definitely too high. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to make this take a little bit longer and have these take a little bit longer as well, just to come up. All right, and we'll do just this first leap, and you'll basically get the picture. It's a little too high still. That's okay. Just adjust it down. Okay, so just this first little leap, we have very, very, very basic rough blocking. So let's constrain it to 32 here, so we can just see this one part over and over and over. Okay, so basically body first, and we let the legs fill in the blanks. And when there's a choice that we've made that's not supported by the body, the legs can't make up for what the body is doing, then it's a little bit of just a back and forth game. But definitely, I'll play the whole thing again, definitely using the body, main controllers to block the main action out, and then working through the big controllers in the body first, and not the other way around. Because if you start thinking to yourself, okay, the left foot is here, right foot is there, what do I do now? How do I get this foot moving, then this foot moving, blah, blah, blah. What you'll end up with is animation that looks like, because it's like a body that is slave to these feet that are moving and sliding around. And that's not what you want. Okay, that was a great question. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to see more questions. Please send them to webmaster@kennyroy.com. You can also send me your Maya file. If you're stuck on a shot, just send me the Maya file. See what happens. See what happens. Maybe you'll get a video, your own very own video for you, from me to you. Okay, so that was a great question. No, I hope it helps you guys with your quadruped animation. Hope it sorts out maybe a little bit of a little confusion you have where to start with a quadruped animation. I'll leave you with this. There's a scene on King Kong that I animated on that has not quadrupeds, but like 6-legged creatures, 8-legged creatures, spiders, and when you get to that level, basically all you can rely on is the body, and then you really, well, with a spider, you're really filling in the legs to support this body action. And I remember we were testing the rigs before we even started on the sequence, and I built this little set, and I had this spider come out from behind a rock, and then went up on a wall, and then down and up on another wall, and then right at camera. And the animation director said, that is, it's clear to me that you had a really clear idea for what you wanted the body to do, but the legs look like they're still getting in the way somehow. And he was right. What I did was I deleted all the animation I had on the legs, and I started completely over on the legs after I did another pass on the body, and I just really sold the body, and then I filled the legs in like at the very end. So that was a big change to my workflow with multiple leg characters. All right, great question. Thanks for sending it in. Please send more if you haven't already. It's a really, really great idea to participate in the site. I'm loving all the new members. Love the action in the forums. Keep encouraging each other. Keep kicking butt on your animation, and as always, rock on.